Hi guys, this video I'm going to show you how to take apart your PS4 and replace the thermal paste. Some of you may have models that are running really hot and therefore the fans kick up and it makes a hell of a noise and it's really annoying me. I record most of the time I do YouTube gaming videos and I can hear the drone of it in the background coming through the microphone, which is why I wanted to do this, just simply because it was so irritating. So yeah, I'm not used to doing these kind of teardown videos, but I wanted to record this, show you at least how I did it and what I learned along the way. Hope it is of use to some of you. It shows you how to replace the thermal paste, get to the inside if you need to replace things like the Blu-ray drive. If you need to replace the fan, you can go from there, or you want to just clean the thing out. And also how to replace the hard drive, that's on the end as well. So stick with me and I'll show you what you need to do it. I'll try and make it as quick as possible and as clear as possible, and I hope it's useful. Okay, a couple of things I just want to warn you of, maybe advise you, is only really do this if you're kind of comfortable taking things apart and putting them back together. If you've done something like this before, of course, go ahead. You're more than used to doing these kind of things. It will also invalidate your warranty. So if for some reason you do something in this process that actually breaks your PS4, you will then not be able to take it back to Sony and complain that it's broken. But it is at your risk. You know, I take no responsibility for what happens. But as long as you follow the way I show you to do this, it should be perfectly fine, and you'll end up with a nice, quiet PS4 at the end of it. Alright, let's kick this off with the things you will need. I've got all the kit that I need to do this right in front of me, and I'll just talk you through it all. This is our patient, our very noisy PS4. First of all, you're going to need some thermal material remover. Managed to get this stuff off Amazon. You maybe don't need this, but it's worth doing. And some surface purifier once you've got the old thermal paste off. To clean the surfaces. This is a T9 security torque screwdriver. Okay, you need to get one of these. If you use a normal torque screw, you're not going to be able to do this properly, and you could end up damaging either the heads or your screwdriver. And this is what it looks like. That symbol there is very important. You see that little hole in the middle? That is important. These particular screws have a lump in the middle of the top of them, then you need that hole to be able to fit your screwdriver in properly. Of course, the thermal paste itself, I've gone for some Arctic Silver 5. Very good. It's high quality. You need a Phillips screwdriver, just a small electrical Phillips screwdriver, and a pair of tweezers, or something with a flat edge that will help you get some stickers off, and of course the cleaning fluid. Okay, first step is to remove the cover on the left. So this is the PS4 the right way round. All you need to do is just grip it from the top like I showed you and just slide it off. There you go. That exposes the hard drive, and I'll show you a bit more about that. But this is the easiest thing to replace, and that will not void your warranty. You are allowed to replace your hard drive if you want to. Next up, just turn the thing over. And so now the back of it is facing you and it's upside down. I've already removed some of the stickers here. I'm just going to show you how to remove one of them, but I will point out in a second exactly where these screws are. These are the ones you need to remove to be able to get the outer casing off. But as soon as you remove the stickers covering the screws, that's it, you voided your warranty, so just bear that in mind. And I'm using a pair of tweezers just to get the stickers off. There are two of them which have got these void, warranty void warnings on them, and two that don't. Those are ones on the outside. So there are just 4 screws on the back. So while you're here, just take them all out. One here, just underneath that, and one on the far right, which I've just removed the sticker for. Now this is where you're going to need your T9 security torque screwdriver. So I just got the bits and I just added those to my existing set. Just take that out and pop it somewhere safe. Okay, what I was doing while I was removing all the screws and pieces was putting them on a piece of paper and marking where I'd put them. So then just lift off the back cover like that, and you've now opened up the bottom of the PS4. You've exposed the fan and the Blu-ray drive and the power unit, of course, which is at the beginning. So okay, next up is to remove the screws which are keeping the power unit in place. PS4's the power unit comes inside the PS4, of course, unlike the Xbox, which is outside. And you're going to need to use your T9 again to remove all the screws, and a Phillips screwdriver for those ones that are recessed, and that one there at the end. All those will allow you to remove your power unit. Sorry. Okay, so these two are Phillips. They've got these little metal clips. Because they're recessed, you just need to grab hold of the clip and it allows you to pull it out. It's quite a long screw, pretty much unmistakable of where that's going to go back when you put it all back together. But just take these out. and just lift it out using the little clip they've given you. Okay, next up is to remove okay, so once you've removed all those screws that I've shown you, you'll notice that you can lift the power unit much more easily on this side than this one. There is a real reason for that, but the first thing you've got to do is make sure you remove this cable here from the power unit itself. Otherwise, as you remove it, you might well damage that. So make sure you take this out. It simply pulls. You don't need to release any clips or anything. Just pull it out. Carefully, don't yank at it, just be careful with everything you do here. Now on the near side, that is where it's slightly tougher to pull out. You just got to apply a little force, and the reason is these two pins are lodged firmly inside that power unit. So lift it up and the power unit's gone, and notice the cable there was undamaged as a result of removing it from the unit itself. Okay, next up we're going to remove the Blu-ray drive. This is probably the most complicated bit of the whole process, I suppose. Simply because there are a lot of components. Here is the Blu-ray cable that you need to take out that's attaching it to the motherboard. There is a clip there that you need to lift up with one hand while pulling out the cable with the other. The other clip I'll show you again. You do the same to the other end. Not just yet. I think I'll come back to that in a minute. Next up, there's this long cable which is attached to the back. You just need one screw with again the T9. Take that out, and it just removes this pretty easily, and the cable will sort of lift up. It's held in by a clip, little plastic clip on there, but we're just going to rest that down on the back for a minute and come back to it later. Next up is you've got the plate. This plate is held down by the Phillips screws, so just apply those. I'm fast forwarding this just to show you and save you some time watching this. Remove this plate. It's pretty straightforward. Once you've got it, just lift straight off, and of course exposing some of the dust and fluff that you see on that's got inside my PS4 already. Okay, so far so good, and you can see as the pieces are attached to the motherboard. The motherboard's the green card which you can see through that metal plate. There's another cable here you want to remove, because as we want to remove the Blu-ray drive, of course, it will otherwise still be attached by that cable. Okay. Next up is the other side of the cable that was attached to the Blu-ray drive. You might not need to do this. You might not need to remove this. I don't think you have to, but I did anyway. But it's a good way of showing you that clip. Again, at each end, it should pull out easily as long as you raise that clip before, and it should pop out nice and easy. There are a couple of little pieces of plastic holding that in and lock it down in place. That's what it looks like, and it's pretty easy to remember where it went, just simply because of the shape it was. Don't bend it out of shape. And then go ahead and remove all of the other screws around that holding that Blu-ray drive. I'm showing you every single one that I'm taking out, just to show you exactly where each of these are. And of course you can come back to this video, stop, rewind, pause it, and you notice there is one. I'll just get it in shot and camera in a second, right down there, recessed beneath that cable. You can get a screwdriver into it. You just got to sort of maneuver the screwdriver past that cable. It's not a problem. And it's not easy to lift out, but of course you're going to be pulling up the Blu-ray drive anyway, so you can leave it in there. Just remember it's there, and don't drop it when you turn the Blu-ray drive upside down. And there's one Phillips right at the front there. So once that's done, there is one more thing to do. There is a black cable, the one that we pulled out earlier on. It is held in by clips, and you just need to make sure you pull it away from those clips, and I push it forward at this point actually, just to release it from that last catch, just like that. Push it forward and then lift it up. You have now completely disconnected your Blu-ray drive from your motherboard. Then you are able to pretty much simply just lift it straight up and out, and that's it. Blu-ray drive is out, and there you go. That's what it looks like. Pretty nifty, huh? Okay. Now we're on to this next section is showing you how to really get to the motherboard. There's a few things you've got to do on this side. That long cable that we pulled out from the top that went right over the back of the Blu-ray drive, it connects with a push fit connected to the motherboard there. You're going to need to take that out. It just simply lifts up. It looks a bit like a coax cable, a miniature one anyway, and it is just a case of trying to get trying to get onto it is pretty easy to lift up. Just be very careful when you're taking any of these off, and you can see it's a tiny little circular thing that just presses back down onto the motherboard when you want to put it back in. You just simply push it back on in the right position, of course. Okay, next up is that's pretty much all the cables out. We've got this one here. It's another the power cable that we originally removed from the power unit. You could try and pull that out, but the cable itself will fit through that hole in the plate there, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just make sure you remember it's there. Then go ahead and remove all of the other screws from the hard drive cover that you exposed earlier after you turned it over again, of course. These are all T9s. Just take these out, and this is just simply allowing you to remove certain plates so that you can get into the motherboard. Okay, that's the hard drive. So this is where you can just unscrew it. I did this for just because I think you need to do it. I'm not sure. You might not need to, but it really is so easy to do. It's a simple Phillips screwdriver. Open that up and pull out your hard drive. That is as simple as that's it. That's as simple as it gets. That's where you would want to replace your hard drive. There's a couple of screws holding it into the case itself, but you can take that out and replace it. There is loads of tutorials on how to do that online, so I won't bore you with the detail. Now this side, this cover, you'll notice you cannot lift it from this side. That's because it's the slant of the angle of the plastic is sort of trapping it underneath the input components at the back. So you won't be able to lift it like that. What you have to do is go around the front where it says PS4 and just lift it from that corner and then push it away from camera here, so that you are lifting it cleanly away from that from what's trapping it at the back there. Okay, lots of dust and fluff. Now we're going to remove all these screws I've just pointed out, again with the T9s. Just go ahead, take them out. I'm fast forwarding, obviously, to save you guys some time. If you can do it this quick, I'll be impressed. Okay, take these out, and finally this one. These two Phillips screws removed. Now this is a clever little bit of kit. It's just basically a bent piece of metal that's screwed into the top of this plate, and what that actually does is press down on your on that plate, which is effectively your heatsink. The PS4 doesn't have its own heatsink. It's using this plate to do so, and it's pressing down on top of your processor to make sure that the thermal paste is in firm contact with the heatsink. And there you go. Just put that to one side, and there you go. You are pretty much able now to pull this plate off. Watch out, there's a cable here which you're going to need to get at in a minute. We don't need it to take this plate off, but I'm just pointing it out there. Do not forget it's there. Certainly in a moment you're going to need to remember it. So simply lift this off. There we go. So there is the processor and all of the memory chips around it, and obviously a lot of dust. There you go. It looks pretty cool. You've exposed one side of the motherboard, but it's the other side that is the most important. But first of all, we're going to remove that cable I just pointed out. Now it needs to lift up and away from the motherboard, so it's worth getting a flathead screwdriver if you've got one and just pressing up while you lift it with your fingertips from the other side. Much better if you've got some fingernails, guys. And yeah, just that when you've done that, you can lift it from this side. Make sure you pull it up from this side, and then you pull it away. Remember that cable I pointed out, which is poking out the back there? Just make sure that lifts through the plate as you pull it towards the camera now, and that's out of the components at the back, which is where the motherboard sits. Now we've actually separated the processor from where the thermal paste is applied, and there's a couple of thermal plastic. There you go. That's the paste. That's what we are here to replace. Pretty nasty stuff, and of course it's actually on the heatsink, which is there as well. There's a couple of those little plastic gum things they stick on top of the memory chips, which are also to disperse the heat from those. But this is what we've come to replace, not those. So there you go. So take the thermal paste remover. It will just sort of loosen up the material. You can leave it there for about 20-30 seconds, and then you're able to clean it off. So just apply a couple of dabs onto both the top of the processor and the heatsink, and just simply wipe it off. Lint-free cloth is obviously the best way to do it. I actually use some kitchen towel here. Probably not the best material to use, and you guys are probably all going to shout at me for using something like that, but it didn't matter. It didn't make a difference to me anyway. And again, apply the same. It's a bit trickier to get it off the processor because there's recesses all around the outside, so maybe sort of pinch together a bit of the cloth you're using just to get the paste away from the outside of the processor. And once you've got it all clean, nice and shiny, then you want to apply this surface purifier. That will just make sure it is absolutely clean before you apply the replacement paste. So yeah, just cleaning it up there, and the result should be a very nice shiny looking CPU like that. CPU GPU, it's the same thing in the PS4. Look at that, absolutely spotless. Right, so now it is time to apply our thermal paste, the Arctic Silver 5. There are other types, of course, and I'm not advertising on their behalf. It's just the one I managed to get hold of. So you can apply a little blob into the middle. There are many ways of applying paste, and there's many arguments of how and what and how much and where and what shape. But the point being, less is more. You really don't want a huge gap, so don't squirt the whole thing. Some people say, flatten it off with a credit card and all that. I really don't buy into that. So make sure this is the point where you're going to make contact again between the board and the heatsink with that thermal paste. So push it in towards the back, making sure that cable I told you about that pulled through the plate is back in the right hole that it came through. And then as you press this down, this is it. Don't be shoving it around. You need to come round this side to just gently push that plastic unit. Just bend it slightly, and now the motherboard is back in position. And if you like, press down, if you're feeling brave, on the back of the processor there, just to make and spread the paste between that and the heatsink. Remember that cable? You can now put this back on. It's simply a case of bending it back down and pressing down. You don't need to use anything else apart from your fingers. Right, once that is in place, just making sure we've got the board sort of in position, and I haven't really done much in terms of cleaning it up. You can do that, use some compressed air and a brush if you like. Some people use a hoover, but it's a bit dodgy because of static, so be careful. And then, yeah, pretty much from this point on, you're putting everything back together in reverse order to the way I showed you. This component, I would screw that down evenly on both sides, because you want the contact, that press in the middle, which is actually what is going to be compressing your processor onto the heatsink plate. So just screw it down evenly on both sides. Don't screw one side all in one go is what I mean, because you'll sort of skew the paste off in one direction. Then replace all of your T9 bits from your well-noted. What I did was write on a piece of paper, and I had a grid, and I just wrote in each box where each screw came from. I mean, all these T9 screws are the same length and width, so don't worry if you don't remember where they all went. You'll find the holes eventually. If you end up with one left over, yeah, you've got to take it apart again. So it's a good idea to write down where they came from. So once they're all back in place like that, just pointing to all the ones that I've just put in for you so you remember where they go, then it's time to put that cover back on. So going from the back and then to the front where the PS4 logo is, then pop back in your hard drive, or if you've replaced it, put in your brand new one, and screw that back on. One screw at the back there, and that's it. We're in. Now turn it back over. You're going to put the components back in, so the Blu-ray driver and the power unit. You can clean out the fan while you're here. Actually, there's a grill just to the near side of the camera there, which you can sort of clean out. Compressed air is always good, and a hoover standing by just to catch the dust in the air. We're putting the Blu-ray drive back in. Now we've got to reassemble all those cables. Remember, that one was trapped under these plastic clips at the back, so make sure you press that cable back under in the same positions. And of course reattach the long cable which came from the front, and pressing it back again anywhere it was clipped down. Make sure you put it, this one, thread through a couple of metal clips on the plate there, so just refeed that through. It's a little fiddly, but you'll be alright. Just carry on doing it, and then you just need to press that. It was very circular. I don't know if you saw it in the shot I did earlier. Very circular component. Just press that back down onto the motherboard, and you've got this power cable. This is the power supply to the Blu-ray, and there you go. Those are all the pieces back. That long cable fits in there. The power cable, which I've just pressed back in. Then it's time to put this blue flat cable in. Now be careful, remember, as you're putting it back in, you also have those lift those clips up and bend them back down once it's firmly in place. Then reapply the plate over the top, and we are pretty much there. Power unit goes back in, just press it down evenly on both sides, and then of course reattach the power supply to the power unit, and that's it. pretty much everything back together the way it was. You've just got to then screw your put these screws back in, pretty easy to lift in, and replace just the reverse of what you've done before. And the video here should help you if you have forgotten where everything went. And then put your cover back down from the front down to the back there, and then put back in all those T9 screws at the back. You can put the stickers back on if you want to, and then finally we're done. Put the hard drive cover back on, the shiny gloss cover if it's the older model, and that's it. There we go. We have a very quiet PS4. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that video and it was helpful. Any questions, I will be able to answer them. Just please drop them down in the comments below. And I hope that was useful for you guys. Take care. Thank you so much. And mission success.